think there's two main traits when it comes to improving. It doesn't matter what topic it is and what industry it is. Whatever it is, could be learning a new language. So firstly, the quantity. Secondly, the quality.
Hey guys, and welcome back to ONEPODLIFE. This week I'm speaking to Gary King. Now Gary has had 7 professional wins in his career, including one on the Challenge Tour. He started his career back in 2019 after an amateur career playing for England and GB&I, whilst also winning the under-14 and under-18 Surrey championships. After reaching the top of the tree, played on the DP World Tour, Gary now uses his experience not only for his own game, but also acting as a mentor for Marco Penge. Now apologies for a little bit of the audio. Gary's headphones weren't quite working properly, but you can still hear exactly what he's saying. But make sure you wait till the end, because what he says is pure gold. Hey Gary, and welcome to ONEPODLIFE. How are you, my friend?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. You've been away for a couple of weeks with Marco Penge, which we'll get on to later. But obviously, you've had a pretty good blistering golf career yourself. But where did golf really come into your life, and how?
Well, I was first age 9 when I got into golf. I got 5 older sisters, and my dad, I can still remember taking us all out into the garden and teach me how to grip the club for the first time. He was like, "We can't go to the driving range until you learn how to grip the club." So we were all out there. It wasn't all of my sisters. I think it was my 3 youngest standing out there with me, and we were all trying to grip the club, and he was showing us, the right way to grip the club, which I still remember to be such an ugly feeling, like just so weird. Obviously, if you hold a baseball bat or tennis racket, it's all pretty standard. But when you show someone a golf grip, it is a really strange feeling. Anyway, and then we went to the range for the first time, and my sisters played for a couple of years. My youngest 2, 2 out of the youngest 3 played for a few years. Then they gave up, but I continued playing on from age 9. Really joined up at Silverswood Golf Club, and never looked back. I was playing for the county by the time I was 12, and then involved with England from age 13, which, looking back, was an amazing experience for me, and I learned so much through those younger years, being involved with around great players and around great coaches, and certainly from growing up from Surrey, I felt like we had a really good team there with Terry Casey and Hugh Maher, and I felt like the coaching foundations were so strong from when I was age 12, 13, and I feel like it was kind of a nuance in golf what Hugh Maher brought to the table back then. He was massively into preparation and finding all the edges that we could over the other counties, and I felt like we've done really well as a county in Surrey. A lot of good learning experiences there, and certainly for the evening as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think I read at the age of 12, your dad reached out to Huxley Golf and arranged for a putting and chipping green to be installed in the garden.
That's right. Yeah, he did.
That must have been a game changer at the age of 12.
It's actually still at my mum and dad's house, that green. I can remember the time when they installed it, and my dad would make me hold out pretty much a shag bag of balls every single night, and we built a plank of wood that was a straight through putting art, basically, and I'd just jump in on that and hole 100 putts from 4 to 5 foot every single night. And my putting as a junior was phenomenal. That was the best part of my game, without a doubt. I wasn't the best tee to green when I was young, but my putting was probably the standout. I certainly attribute a lot of that to having a high quality surface in the back garden that I could access anytime, and and my dad just creating that discipline of me getting out there every single day and just holding 100 putts from 4 to 5 foot. And I think especially with the surface quality that you have across most golf clubs in the UK, like through the winter months, it's actually quite hard to get some good putting in.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was certainly lucky there.
No, good stuff. Did your dad play to a pretty good standard at that when you were young, or did you just love playing golf?
I'd tell you he did, but He'd still say he was absolutely mustard now, but no, my dad got down to about 9 handicap.
Okay.
But his knowledge is much better than a 9 handicap. I mean, he plays about 18 now. He could give up playing for years when he was travelling around the world with me.
Yep.
But he's back playing now, practicing all the time. He loves the game, so he's always been a mentor figure for me and my golf, and a huge part of the success that I achieved was attributed to my dad's role as a mentor and all the guidance and everything he's given me. So, whilst he plays off 9, he's got much better knowledge than that, even though I probably wouldn't tell him to his face. But
Okay, I won't tell him not to listen to this podcast then.
Exactly, yeah.
Good stuff. You obviously mentioned that you started playing for Surrey from quite a young age, and I see that you won the under 14 and under 18 Surrey Junior Championship. So obviously at that age you were starting to show a bit of promise. So what would you say was like sort of the thing that got you through to sort of win those sort of tournaments at such a young age?
I think my putting, as I said, was always very strong. But I first started working with a coach, a guy called Adam Aram from Kingswood. I think I was about age 12 when I first started working with Adam. And we'd just go out on the course at Kingswood. Pretty much we'd done playing lessons, I'd say 90% of the time. And all we'd talk about is just different shots. He'd drop a ball in the trees and he'd say, find a way to get out of it. And we'd just be punching it around, drawing it, fading it. And Adam was always my biggest fan. He was a massive fan of my swing technically and stuff. So we didn't really touch much on that basis, which later on was a little bit to my annoyance and why I ended up parting with Adam. But at the same time, what he did teach me from a young age was that club face awareness and ability to hit different shots, and I think that's such an important aspect when you're growing up and playing golf, is to understand the art of the game basically. And I think we're very lucky through those learning years to be taught that way. Whereas if let's say 90% of my coaching was based off technique, then I don't think that I would have had that innate ability just to understand how to get the ball around the golf course and score. And I think that was what I was very good at. And I was lucky with my dad always having a watchful eye over me, watching pretty much every round of golf I played. And we'd always try and find a strategic advantage. I used to build my own yardage books, draw them out and print them off before most tournaments. And I just felt like it was a great way for me to gain an edge over everybody else if I could be stronger strategically, stronger mentally than everybody else. And that was something that my dad enforced a lot when I was younger. I mean, if I had a careless 3-putt from 15 foot, then we'd be having a bust up on the golf course that I'd be going mad. It just find that unacceptable. Or, if I made a poor strategic error, a lapse in concentration on that front, then again, I mean, anyone who knows me and my dad knows how much we used to row about the game. But when I look back, it made me really smart and sharp, and I think one of my dad's big annoyances was giving away cheap shots, and you see it all the time. Players just, you've got 15-foot putt for eagle. All you're thinking about is making the eagle, and all of a sudden you've got 5 foot coming back, and you walk off with par. Or if, let's say, you have a couple of bad holes and you start to go a little bit on tilt, and the emotions get the better of you, and all of a sudden you're creeping away from the game plan that you've laid out, and you're hitting a driver on a hole that you shouldn't be, and then you rack up a 7 or an 8, and things get out of hand, and you end up targeting a 77 when it should have been a 74. So I look at all of that stuff, and I think they were things that I was thinking about at a very young age, which perhaps I don't think my peers were at that age. Whilst, as I said, I wasn't, I was certainly no better ball strikers than all the guys I was playing against, but I always had great club face awareness, and I could hit the shots, but also I knew how to get the ball around the course, and I felt like I had an edge mentally over most of my opponents at that age.
No, definitely. Well, talking about getting the ball around the golf course, you played I think is this the same tournament, the Hampshire Hog and the Scandia Junior Open?
Yeah,
By shooting a course record at Sheridan Golf Club, you shot 64. So you definitely know how to get the ball around the golf course. I've played that. I've played that course. It's tough. Um, what was
yeah.
working for you on that day?
That was at the under 18s county. What was it called? I'm trying to remember what the event was called, where you'd have all the counties turned up for the day. Oh, it was a 6-man, I think that was called, but
Right, okay.
six-man junior, I think. And yeah, shot 64 the first round at Sheringham, and I think it might have been the first course record I ever shot actually.
How many have you had?
But oh, that's a good question. I think I probably had about 6 or 7 now. I mean, my best course record that I would say was at Frilford Heath in 2015 on the red course in a Euro Pro. So I just won the first event of the year at Celtic Manor, and then this second event was at Frilford Heath, and I went out in the first round in the afternoon and shot 10 under, and that was before they'd made changes to that course. They ripped out a load of gorse there, and they've made that course quite a bit easier. But that was still my standout course record. Definitely, that was. So I was leading by 5 after that day, and I played in the afternoon where it was quite windy, and the next best score was 3 under. So
That's not bad
yeah,
at all.
that day was crazy. First 2 days, I don't think I missed a putt inside 12 foot, but obviously I hit the ball very well as well. But
Yeah, of course.
but yeah, I feel like the Scandia Junior Masters was a good one. That was a trip I went away with England. Me and Stiggy Hodgson. I believe it was Jonathan Bell, who's now caddying out on tour. He was out there as well, very good player. And yeah, I won that tournament by 6 or 7, I think, which was yeah, pretty cool. Representing your country abroad in Sweden, and to come back with a win was awesome.
So you also went away and played in is it the Jack Leagues Trophy in Scotland?
I did, yeah.
Where the GB&I team came through as winners in 2008. Obviously, winning as a team is obviously quite always quite exciting. But obviously, I guess that was your first taste of sort of team win. So yeah, what was that feeling like, and yeah, what was that sort of environment to be in like?
Yeah, certainly on that level. I mean, I experienced some great wins and stuff with Surrey. And that year I played World Boys for England and European Boys. So I was getting a real good taste for the top level of junior golf. And that year I played Eddie Pepper was always my foursome partner, generally for the England stuff. And we had a really good record together. And I look back, I've got actually a portrait, and well, it's at my mum and dad's now. You look back at that team that was assembled that year, the Jack Leagues, and phenomenal team we had. I think there's probably out of the 12 guys, there was about seven that made it on, on tour at some point. Might have even been 8. And there's still quite a few out there. Tommy Fleetwood was in that team. Eddie Kettle. Yeah, so we had a really strong team. Obviously, to win as well was great, and I miss that. I feel like in professional sports, in professional golf now, you don't get to experience that team game like you used to as an amateur. And I feel like there's a market to be had, like for more team events, etc. I mean, you look at Sunnydale Foursomes, and that's an event. Well, I'm playing that in a few weeks for George Floor.
Yep.
It's an event that everyone looks forward to every single year, and it's oversubscribed. I know it's a great golf course, but at the same time, it's like you can't beat that team environment. And I'm a massive fan. If I'm winning, everyone else is winning. It makes it a more enjoyable experience. There's nothing like winning as a team. And obviously, you've got the Ryder Cup, but outside of that, there really isn't much. And I think I spoke to Tom actually on the Clutch Pro Tour and said, to do like a massive pairs event or a Sunnydale Foursomes format type event, etc. Because just team events are just so much fun.
Okay. Well, obviously, off that, then we've got to talk about the most controversial team golf going on at the moment, which obviously is Live Golf. So, obviously, if you put aside the politics of it all, so would you say that's the type of thing that needs to be more into golf? Bring that sort of element, that team sort of golf in, or are you talking more about like the pairs stuff, the pro-am stuff, and obviously a bit more like the Sunnydale sort of tournaments?
Yeah, I guess it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you look at golf and the history behind the golf, and outside of the Ryder Cup and what's the other one, President's Cup. Really,
Yep.
it's just not a done thing. And I feel like with the Live, they're trying to create that, but where it sort of goes against the history of the game, I think that's where they're facing a lot of friction. And
Yep.
yeah, I guess the concept seems great, but is it realistic to bring it in? I don't know. I just know as a player, it's something that you definitely crave, but I don't know if from a consumer, from a fan base, whether it be quite as exciting, because I think the bulk of the fans want to see, the history in the game, and guys achieve history. And I think that's the sticking point we live now. Like Yuki Neiman's just won at the weekend, but doesn't feel like he's won a historic event there.
Yep.
So the value of the event doesn't seem the same as it does if he'd won at TPC Sawgrass or something like that, or won the Masters. Just doesn't have the value because it hasn't got the history behind it. So I think if you did introduce a team game, would it go well? I don't know, but I know that the players would love it. So I'm sure the players are enjoying it on Live. I mean, it's kind of like a mixed event, isn't it? You put your singles and you put your team. And they obviously play the pairs, which I really enjoy watching. Where's that? Where they do the different formats. They've got they play the foursomes on the last day. It's out on the PGA Tour. I feel like that's really quite exciting to watch. So I think the European Tour could perhaps introduce an event like that, and even maybe the Challenge Tour or like your lower level clutch, etc., where on day one it's combined medal. Then on day two you play greens, and day three you play foursomes, or even your Sunningdale foursomes format is a great format. And I think an event like Sunningdale foursomes at the top level would be really exciting to watch, because I know from my experience watching the Ryder Cup, like that's probably the most exciting game for me is the foursomes, because so much can happen and there's so much pressure on the line. It's not like better ball when you've got two balls in play. When you've only got one ball in play and you're playing for your playing partner as well as yourself, it's kind of like double pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So I guess that sort of the finishing off in 2018, winning with obviously the GB&I team. I guess that was kind of like the end of your sort of amateur career, because the year after you turned pro. And just wanting to, I ask this to every pro that I speak to. I'm just intrigued to know what was behind the decision making at that point for you to decide right now is the time to turn pro.
I actually had a few issues with EGU. Me and Stig had a few problems with the guys there. I mean, we were never your staple young men that you want coming through the EGUs. We were always a bit troublemakers, to be honest. And we had a few bits that went on. Had a bit of a fallout with EGU, and I just decided it was time for me to turn pro, which left it slightly sour. But at the same time, like felt like I achieved so much in the junior game, like everything that I could do. It was at the same time, I think, the right time, because yes, I could dive into the men's golf and perhaps play Walker Cup and so on. But I felt like I gained a lot of experience through the junior career and playing in all the big events, etc. That it just felt like the right time. That tied in with a few issues that I had with ECU. And I think that's the only thing, like, look back and think is a slight problem with the ECU system is where it's selection based. I feel like, that was part of a few of the issues that we did have. I felt like, if you didn't fit the mold, then perhaps that could hinder your ability to get picked in teams and stuff. Whereas, it should really be based on your ability on the golf course. But so then, turned pro after that and threw myself in the deep end. I mean, my first event I played on the Europro, I actually won the qualifying first stage of Europro and got through at final stage. And then my first event at Coventry Park, I shot 82, 87. And anyone that's played Coventry Park will know it's actually a very demanding course. But Jesus Christ, I didn't expect to shoot those numbers.
No, of course not. Not in your first on your debut either.
No, exactly.
But since then, I'm just sort of rattling some stuff. I'll say I think you've had 7 wins as a pro across 5 tours during that time. But obviously before 2016, I believe that was. So, or probably even after. But which one of those would you say meant the most to you as a professional win?
Definitely, my Challenge Tour win was the biggest one. That was at the Montecchio Open in Italy in 2016. had a good year the year prior on the Euro Pro, where I won twice and got my Challenge Tour card. Actually, for Q School, I ended up finishing sixth, believe it or not, that year. I won the first two events, and then I played quite a lot of Challenge Tour that year. I didn't play a full schedule in the Euro Pro. I can still remember now Aaron Ray standing in on the playoff hole with Jordan Smith, and Aaron had to win the playoff, and he won the playoff, and I would have got my card through the Euro Pro.
Right.
And I've got this image of him standing there in the middle of the 18th fairway at Desert Springs, and Aaron's phenomenal ball striker, probably as much control as I've ever seen, or certainly anyone I've ever played with. And he's probably only hitting an 8-iron, and he just threw it straight into the lake, pitch right in the middle of it, and Jordan was on the green in two, and I just knew that was my top 5 up in flames. I still remember actually his dad, Aaron's dad, came over and gave me a massive hug. He was absolutely gutted for me, and I remember saying, don't worry about me. Aaron's just got his card. Like, just come top 5. It's amazing. But he was more worried about me than he was Aaron just graduating. I mean, just a lovely, lovely family.
I've heard good things about Aaron's family. So
really nice, yeah. And then off the back of that, I went to Q School and got my card that way anyway. So ended up making the cut. I missed my European Tour card that year by a shot, so kind of felt it was a bit gutting at the time because I was playing well enough to get my European Tour card and missed out by a shot. But at the same time, when I look back, it was the right transition to go from the Euro Pro to the Challenge Tour, and I still managed to play quite a few European Tour events that year anyway. But to win on the I knew my game was in a good place, to be fair. I played the Trophy Hassan in Morocco the week prior, and I still remember a phone call with my current wife now, Bianca. Current wife, I meant my current girlfriend at the time, my wife now. And I remember saying to her that I knew that if I could just do X, Y, and Z, that I'll be really tough. Well, I've probably said that I think I'll win next week. And it's funny as golfers when your game's in a certain place, and if you could just, I knew if I just tidied up a few mindset things, then I was good to go. And had a pretty memorable up and down out the bunker on 18. Made like a 20-foot putt to avoid a 4-hole playoff, and it was one of the biggest prize money events of the year. So it boded really well for my order of merit. But again, I ended up finishing 23rd that year, but I got my card from Q School again anyway, my European Tour card. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, obviously in 2016, you went to Q School and you managed to qualify to get a card for 2017. So you did get to the top of the tree. When you sort of got to that level, did you feel like you needed to change anything in your game, or did you just go straight in?
I think I first started changing my game when I was 18. So I left my coach when I was 18, Adam Moran, and then I went to sit alone, pretty much me and my dad the first few years, and then a close friend helped me out for a number of years. A guy called Dave Feeney. We don't work together anymore, but I've kind of been, ever since I was 18 now, I'm always working on my game. I'm just obsessed with getting better and understanding every component that there is in the game. So, I think it highlighted areas that were weak and needed to be better on the European Tour. I think that it just finds you out, whereas on the Challenge Tour, a lot of the courses are just nowhere near as demanding as the European Tour. Whilst they're more demanding than the Euro Pro, but when you step up to that next level, then it just found me out in areas and highlighted things that I needed to improve. It was just not a very good year for me to get my card. I only got in 13 events, so it was before they made some adjustments and changes. I didn't get any Rolex events. I made my first 3 cuts and then missed my next 10. But when you look back, I think it was only 3 guys from the Q School get their card out of the 32 that got their card.
Oh, really?
One of those was Eddie Pepper, and he done that via the US Open. He had a really good finish at the US Open. So, you could say there's pretty much only 2 players that kept their card, and it's looking similar this year. The Q School category is so weak; it's just not getting any events, which is a shame, really, because not only does it cost a lot of money, Q School, it's a brutal process, and it's a very strict examination of your ability as a golfer and puts you under the most pressure that you probably play under. And then for it not to mean what you think it's going to mean, you play half a schedule in the small money events. It makes it near impossible for you to
Get your card,
to keep your card.
Yeah, no, definitely. So what are you up to now then? 'Cause obviously, that's quite obviously what sort of since you turned pro, what's been what are we now 24? So let's say
Long time now, yeah.
sorry, 13 years, not to put it up 14, 15 years, sorry, let's put it on you.
Yeah,
But
15 years. That sounds
yeah,
about right. Yeah.
So what's professional golf look like for Gary King at the moment?
Well, in 2018, I had a shoulder injury, so I was pretty much out of the game for a couple of years with that. So I didn't really play too much. And a couple of years ago, I set up a business, got an indoor facility or an entertainment facility. It started off as a golf venue more so, but it's got an indoor crazy golf. It's got 20 odd sports screens, a bar, karaoke room, 6 TrackMan bays, PlayStation 5, all that sort of stuff. So the last couple of years, that's soaked up a lot of my time, last sort of 3 years. And last year was probably the first year that I actually was physically fit with my shoulder to be able to go out and play pain-free and actually get back in the gym and do some, hit the driver hard. There was years there where I'd have to make such a slow backswing and stop at the top, otherwise my shoulder would feel like it's going to rip out its socket. So
Right, okay.
that was probably a big part of why from aside from COVID 2019 to 2023 that I didn't my schedule was just so in and out and I wasn't really playing too much because I was like partially injured but playing through it but never actually sorted the issue until last year.
Yep.
But yeah, in terms of looking forward, like last year I probably had one of the best years I've ever had. I mean, my scoring average last year was 69.5. I had 7 top 5s, and I had a really poor putting year, which is unusual for me. And if I had putted well last year, then obviously, my results would have been even better. But I just played terrible. I went to Asian Q school and I went to European Q school. Both stages, I missed by 1 at European Q school, and I just played terrible. I just didn't perform, and I think that's one of the tough things now as you get older. When I look back, I was always very strong at Q school and fearless. Whereas when you get older, you actually understand the value of the event, and then that can obviously have a negative effect on your performance. And I felt like that was something I did deal as well as I would have liked of last year, especially when expectations start to kick in and all that sort of stuff. And but yeah, something I'll try and rectify this year. But I plan to play most of the clutch events this year. I've got a couple of challenge tour invites as well. So
that's good.
I've just got to try and capitalise. The opportunities there. You look at what Brandon Robertson Thompson done last year, and if you can play well, it all takes care of itself. So, but saying that, I've really not done much golf the last couple of months. I've obviously been helping Marco, and still busy with the business here and there. So, but I've got to get back to it. I'm going to play out in the events they've got in March out in Ras Al Khaimah. So that'd be a nice kick-off for the season for me.
No, good stuff. Obviously, you just mentioned that you're working with Marco, which is obviously one of my quick things I wanted to move on to. So obviously Marco's just got his DP World Tour card. He's obviously playing out his first year. I just want to work out, first of all, I think obviously I had Marco on the previous podcast, this one, so he's obviously told the story, but it'd be good to hear from your side of it. Like, how did that relationship first start?
We actually played a Portugal Pro Tour event, a golf course called Alamos, and I was drawn with him. And I didn't really know Marco too well at the time. I knew of him, and we might have played a couple of rounds together. And I had a good friend, Jack Colgate, on the bag for me at the time. And we played a round with him round at Alamos, and he was really struggling. And it's quite a tight course, and it was a windy day, so it's going to expose any issues that you've got even more so with those conditions. And he just had, a round that was quite hard for me to watch. And I sat down in the clubhouse after, and I remember speaking to Jack and saying, "I know I can help Marco, but I'm very much a closed book. I'm not like most people. A lot of people, like to voice their knowledge. They like to portray everything they know. I'm the polar opposite. I don't want, even coming on a podcast is goes against my nature because,
Yep.
I don't want anyone else to read my hand. And it's just the way that my dad's brought me up. And I'm very open with certain people, but I'm very close with the majority.
Yep.
And I just found it hard to, and I can still remember me, Marco, and Jack sitting there, and I was saying that, look, if I help you out, then I want it to be a long term commitment, and I guess my fear was always that I could give him all of my knowledge, and he could take that and could leave me after a year and or whatever it might be. But I'm pleased to say it's been 4 years on now, and we're still going strong. So he's a very very loyal individual, and relationships in a great spot. And it's a tricky little balance there between the same as I've found with the business. Keeping the personal relationship in the business. So we've always got to recognise that, and that's the only thing that I found a little bit tricky at times. But I feel like we're learning all the time and growing as business in a business form, and we're still growing as friends. So to see his transition from where he was 4 years ago to where he is now, it's been awesome to see. I mean, when I first started working with him, you could see the talent that he had, but he had some real demons going on mentally, but some huge technical issues that are going to be attached to that. And it just takes time because whilst we can rectify the technical issues, the scar tissue is still there, and it takes time for your brain to forget all of those painful images of that ball that sailed out of bounds and your final hole when you're on the cut line or whatever it might be. And it's amazing in golf, we remember all the bad stuff, and my brain doesn't a lot of the time remember all the great stuff we've done, and it clings on to those painful moments when we've hit a shot that we just didn't want to at the wrong time and felt a severe sense of loss. Whether it be a miscut or embarrassment, all of those things that I think all of us feel as golfers, whether it's at club level or standing on the first tee in front of 20 guys all watching the tee off. It's easy for those thoughts to kick in, and if you hit an embarrassing shot, then that's detrimental to your ego. So it can have that has a massive impact on a player's performance. And I think with Marco, we were chipping away at we're reducing dispersion all the time, which is helping. But the mindset stuff is just a matter of time, before he starts to build that confidence and forget those images of that prior dispersion pattern that he used to have. Because now if you watch him on the range, you think like, a lot of the time he stands there and he barely misses a shot, but you head to the first tee, and as all professional golfers know, it's a completely different game.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, it's been a great experience for me. I've really, really enjoyed working with him. It's, I guess, I love a challenge, and when you're working with a talent like Marco, it's exciting. Like I look at my own golf, and I still believe I can achieve a lot in the game of golf. However, my ceiling is not what Marco's ceiling could be with his club head speed potential, and he's got so many great attributes as well. He's very very competitive. He can get it done. At the grand final last year, one of the biggest rounds of his life, and he went out and won by 6. And probably the rest of his career might not face any more pressure than that, because in terms of the stepping stone in his career, that's such a huge moment. I mean, I think not that winning's ever easy, but winning when you've got millions in the bank or you've got a card secured is undoubtedly easier than when you're on the cut line, you've got no money, or when you're fighting up the ranks, like Marco was at that Challenge Tour event, or like all the players face at Q School and so on. There's nothing more valuable than that, having the playing rights, and that is the most severe pressure that players really do play under.
No, definitely.
Probably
like yeah, I guess. Like I say, he's changed in the last 4 years. Has been from what I've seen from the outside, and obviously having chatted to him last time yeah, you can tell that he's a completely different person to what he was 4 years ago. So I guess a lot of that is obviously down to yourself. So you can sort of give yourself a pat on the back for that one. But is obviously, obviously you don't want to give away too much of your secrets, but is coaching something that you'd be looking to go to full time at some point in your career, or are you just happy doing it as a sort of a one-off sort of thing, or do you coach other guys at the moment?
No, I don't. It's a tough one because where I still want to play, I feel like my schedule and time balance now is fairly loaded, and especially with how hard you need to work to become successful in professional golf. I'd be kidding myself if I thought I could take on another 3 players and still try and play.
Mm-hmm.
If I decided I didn't want to play, then perhaps that would be an avenue that I'd go down. But I feel like for me, it's so much more than just coaching with Marco. Like I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for anything other than my love and passion to see him do well. And that was the same from when I first started working with him. I was never looking at it as a potential financial gain. I just saw someone who I really liked, someone who I saw had the talent. And, it's always been in my nature to help people. It's something that I just, I get from my parents, and I love to help people. And I think that's my biggest driving force behind helping Marco. Whereas if I took on some other players, I wouldn't be as emotionally invested, I wouldn't think, as I am with Marco. And I think that's a big part of the reason why I love it and why I'm as committed as I am with Marco. It's much more than just the coaching. I want to do it just to see him. We set a goal out for him to become one of the best players in the world. If I can get into the top 50 in the world, then I feel like my job's done.
Yep.
And that's so. Yeah, in terms of coaching other players, I mean, it's a tricky one. I know that I could help other players, and perhaps if the opportunities come around, would I turn them out? I don't know until I'm in that position. But right now, I give my time to Marco, I give time to the business and time to my own golf, and that's quite a hefty schedule as it is.
That's fair enough.
But I'm unsure.
Okay, that's a good answer. Okay, cool. So I'll let you rest for a little bit, but got a couple of quick questions for you. It should be easier for you to answer, hopefully. What's the best golf course you've ever played?
Surrey.
Okay, where's that?
That was where I grew up playing. I always say, if ever I got asked that question, I've always said Surrey, just because I played so many rounds when there is where I used to play when I was a kid, 54 holes a day around there, and I always called it the Augusta of Surrey.
Love it.
A few of my friends would always wind me up about that, but yeah, I mean, it's a nice track, to be fair. Yeah. It is.
I have to get down and play the Augusta of Surrey then.
Exactly, yeah, definitely. Play in the middle of summer when the flags are a bit tougher and the greens are a bit firm. It's good test of golf. Around the
grounds. Who would be in your dream 4-ball?
Dream 4-ball. I'd have to chuck Tiger Woods in there.
Yep.
I mean, does David Goggins play golf? Maybe I'd throw him in there.
Yeah, don't have to be golfers.
But he's one that I love. Read all his books. Who else would I get in there? Maybe Jack Nicklaus, to be fair.
Yep.
I think I'd love to spend some time with Jack. That would probably be a strong 4-ball.
No, good stuff. And if there was a moment in golfing history that you could go back to and watch live, what would it be and why?
I mean, Tiger winning, was it the 2019 Masters? I mean, I think that's probably one of the most amazing achievements that anyone's ever seen in sport, really.
Yep,
I felt like that was probably, I mean, especially with the way he won it. He only won by one, didn't he? And had the jam-packed DJ Brooks and all of them right behind him. So I think that'd be one I'd like to go back to and go to the party with him that night and maybe spend some time in the
Gary, that's a great sort of rendition of your career, what you've been doing. I'm glad to hear that you're still trying to get out there and play, which is fantastic. And obviously the work you're doing, Marco, is great as well. So well done on that. But let's move on to the last sort of part of the podcast where, yeah, just basically finding out from guys like yourself what you think are the top three things any aspiring professional should be doing. So I always use me as an example because that's what I'm trying to do. So obviously right now I play off five. But if I wanted to get down to that really good level and try and play on sort of developmental tour level, what do you think are the three top things that anyone should be doing?
Well, it's funny because I'm actually helping my brother-in-law at the moment with his golf. He's really got into it the last 6 months, and he's playing off about 18 at the moment. So he's had a really good first 6 months. He's come down very well, and I'm always giving him advice what he should be doing, etc. And I think there's two main traits when it comes to improving. It doesn't matter what topic it is or what industry it is, and I always put the two components. So firstly, it's quantity of time that you put into whatever it is. Could be learning a new language, could be learning to do a better 5 mile run, whatever it might be. So firstly, the quantity. Secondly, the quality of that training. So if I put it in golf standpoint, it's how much time are you inputting into the game, and what's the quality of that practice look like? Because you can't get better at that, whatever it is, without having both. Like, you can have high quality but low quantity, and you're going to have a tough time moving towards your goals, and then vice versa the other way. If you're putting a load of time in, the quality level is low, you just be standing still or going backwards. And I always use an analogy of A to B. So A is where we're at today, and B is our goal of where we want to go. And there's a number of different routes that you can go on to get to that goal. There's a direct path, which is your optimal route, and there's going around in circles, going a bit back, going a bit forward. Some people do go backwards. So I think it's understanding what does that optimal path look like, what does that entail day to day. And I think for anybody that's trying to get better at golf, they need to have the right team in place, and they need to be getting the right information, because so many guys are just going out there to the driving range, hitting rubbish golf balls, just on the search train, back and forth from the next field, no direction, no plan to what they're doing, and expecting that they're going to get better at golf. And it just doesn't work like that. And I actually use an analogy a lot. If I was a personal trainer and you came to me and said, look, I want to lose some weight and I want to gain some strength, your metrics and all that to track would actually be really easy. I'd jump you on the scales at day one. I'd take some photos of you, maybe get you in a scanner to measure your muscle mass, etc. We can see how much weight you're lifting week to week, and it all becomes very easy to track. The following Monday, you jump back on the scales. We remeasure your muscle mass. We can look at what weight you're lifting, and within 6 months, it's very easy for us to have a look back and see if we've got any better. Whereas in golf, most people spend the time putting in a lot of time, and they say, "Oh, how's it going?" And they say, yeah, no, I think it's getting better. Or, yeah, it seems better. But there's actually nothing that's quantifiable, that's in place, that's actually representing that you are getting better. Where, measuring in each department in the game of golf is so important. So I try and break down the golf into different categories. I see it as a big tree. And at the base of the tree is your scoring average. And that's the number one most important component. That's what the best players in the world do better than anybody else. That scoring average number is lower, and they can move that scoring average around the world, around any golf course in any conditions, and they'll have a better number than the rest. The worst golfers obviously have the higher number. But then as you run up the tree, your first branch, you've got mindset. Your second branch, you've got your physical. Third branch, you've got fourth branch. Then I break it down into the golf components. So you've got putting, short game, iron play, woods, and then mindset. Did I mention mindset in there?
Yep.
So then I look at all of those components, and let's say there's 8 branches. If you're not watering every single branch every single day, you have a negative effect on your base scoring average number. But it's all very well going out and saying, right, I'm going to work on my short game today because I know that's a branch I need to water and do 30 minutes a day. But if you're going out there and your quality level's low, then you're going to actually improve. So I think it's firstly breaking down your practice time and understanding that you need to input time into all of those components. We're not just throwing a dart at a dartboard. There's so many variables in the game of golf which make it complex, but at the same time actually make it, in my opinion, one of the easiest sports in the world to become successful at, because there's so many different areas that you can make gains at. Whereas if I'm a sprinter trying to find, improve over 100 meters, it's going to be very hard for me to shave that, tenth of a second off or whatever it might be. Or if I'm a darts player and I'm working on my doubles checkouts, etc., there's not that many components to it. Whereas with a golfer, if you spend, let's say, 20 minutes a day working on your putts from 20 foot to 60 foot, and you were measuring your proximity to the hole based off 15 putts a day, and you're actually quantifying week to week. And if we remove the variables like green condition, all that sort of stuff, and you actually spent time 20 minutes a day on pace proximity to the hole when you first putt from 30 to 60 foot, and you can show me tangible data that said, look, this was the first test that I've done. This is my average proximity. Let's say it was 6 foot to the hole. I've done this. I had a lesson with the PGA Pro, and he told me this is how I'm going to improve my pace putting. I'm using this training aid, this, and this. And now look at my data. 3 months down the line, I've shrunk my proximity to the hole, my initial first putt, to 3 foot. So that's actually a tangible data that is going to have a positive impact on your base level scoring average. So you're going to go out and you're going to have less 3 putts on the course, and your scoring average is going to improve. I mean, that's such a small component of this massive tree, because you could give that exact same theory to sitting down and doing an hour of strategic work every single day and mapping out how to optimize for your own dispersion, how to get it around the golf course. And then you could talk about improving your attention control and your self-talk. All of those components are going to correlate to a better scoring average. But the problem is most golfers spend 98% of the time on the driving range just smacking balls. I know I've gone off.
No.
And perhaps I've given more than 3 points, but I feel like that's what I would say is understand all of the components and make sure that you're allocating time for all of them. But if you don't understand the topic, then find someone who does, and is going to make sure that your practice is efficient. And I think in golf, like there's not enough people utilizing teams. And I think where we're self-employed individuals, where you have the option of turning up to practice or not, it actually really inhibits golfers getting to their goals quicker. Because if my wife didn't turn up for work tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., she's going to be, if she's done that repeatedly, she's going to lose her job. So she doesn't actually have a choice. She's going to turn up and she's going to dedicate 9-10 hours a day to the business that she works for. Whereas yet as a self-employed individual, there's not many guys that are going to go out and dedicate 9-10 hours a day to, and I know it's a little bit more physically taxing, etc., but even 6-7 hours a day, they're not going to just do that for themselves, because we've got the option as a self-employed individual. We've got the choice. So and a lot of the time, we're always choosing the route of least resistance. So I'd say get a team in place and get someone who's, I mean, that's the role I play with Marco more than anything, is, I'm like I'm a mentor for him, but I hold him accountable every day. And I think that nowhere near enough people have that. And people think, you need to be motivated, you need to be disciplined, you need to go out and train. But, our brain doesn't work like that. There's rare guys that can do it on their own. And my dad was a massive driving force for me. Like, it was unacceptable if I wasn't out there practicing, and he drove me hard. And, you ask anyone, I was always, one of the hardest workers out there. And that came from the environment that my dad installed from a young age. But if my dad wasn't there, and I had the choice and I was getting away with not putting the time in, then I wouldn't be the hard work at the hand today. So I think don't be afraid to get people in place to drive you. Don't think that you should be motivated and that should come easy, because a lot of the time it's not going to the gym and doing a tense workout or doing an hour of meditation a day. That's not fun. Like, most people don't want to do it, but if you truly want to get to your goal, then that's just what you've got to do. Look, let's just put a system in place or formulate a plan of how we can get you to do it every single day. You can't play PlayStation until you've done, these 5 core staple points or whatever it might be.
Well, Gary, I think that's probably the best answer I've ever had when I've asked that question. No, it's great.
But
no, it's good. I like it. No, fantastic. Well, look, I won't keep you any longer. That was really, I think everything you said there was bang on, and definitely saying food for thought for myself on that sort of accountability, and actually, like you said, taking the easy route sometimes and not doing what you should be doing. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your story. And like you said, you're not always an open book. So thank you for coming on and getting outside your comfort zone. And wish you good luck for the rest of this year. Hopefully see you back out on the golf course. And of course, Marco as well.
Next time I speak to you, be down to scratch, yeah?
Fingers crossed, that's the plan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for having me on, Lord. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. Thanks. Cheers, mate.
Thanks very much. All the best, yeah.